So basically, what I wanted to first of all do, I see there's a view, I just don't know who it is. Hi, Kevin. So first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to genuinely apologize for the delay in going online. Just hold on, let me put my phone on silent. The delay in going live, that is, and kind of explain that Uncle Saidi or Mr. Saidi Mdala, whatever you choose to refer to him as, is unable to join us right now. I hope, but he'll be online at 8 p.m. He had an engagement to get to, and in his absence, though, we will be looking at. If you read my blog, I spoke about a free tool that he's going to be giving all of us to kind of use to develop our own personal philosophy. And I wanted to kind of fill in the missing gaps in terms of what personal philosophy is, and if you didn't understand from the blog, so that we can all get like a better understanding, which I think is even better because we can then hi Matelo, hi Matelo. So I'm just saying that it's better for us to even do this so we get to have a head start, so that later on when we do have the interview with him, at least you guys will be in a better position to kind of ask questions that are like coming from an informed place where you understand. Hi, Ray. Coming from a place where you guys understand what's going on. So first of all, I'm going to start by explaining what personal philosophy is, and then we could just go into the tool that I said he would give you guys for free. Hi, sweet Caramella. Basically the way that it works is personal philosophy is something that Uncle Saidi introduced to me when I first met him. And the whole tool, thanks for joining, Ray, thanks for joining. The whole tool is really based on figuring out where you're at in your life and what steps you need to take to get to another level. And so I feel it's very important for you, despite, like I said, whatever level you may be at, because it's more or less, he calls it more of a clarity tool in terms of you getting to be in a position where you can make meaningful steps towards bettering yourself and bettering your life. So personal philosophy, I know, consists of four things, being your vision, your mission, your purpose, and your values. I'm going to go on and describe a little bit about each of those four things, and then we could go into obviously the tool, which is like our main topic of discussion for this live. So your vision is first of all the thing where you visualize yourself to be, and your vision is obviously important because you have to see or project your future in a way that is able for you to get to a place, hi Maria, get to a place where you're able to understand where you're going and what you're building towards. It's important for many reasons. You can't be ambitious if you don't have a vision. You can't kind of go through all the things that life will throw at you if you don't have a vision. You can't be patient with the process of getting to where you're supposed to get to if you don't have a vision. You need to obviously have a vision for so many kind of reasons, and we'll obviously get into the depths of that with Uncle Saidi later on. Next thing is obviously your mission. Now, your mission, a lot of people kind of get the two twisted and think that they are the same. They're not the same at all. The way that I've been made to understand them is that your mission is more or less the steps that you will take towards your vision. So it's like your day-to-day planning, but maybe more or less at like at an annual kind of point of view, in the sense that it's more or less your year-to-year planning as to how you will get to your vision. So if your vision is to become a CEO of a company, obviously maybe your immediate 2-year goal would be, maybe it's a specific company, like it's a Fortune 500 company, then your initial kind of steps to get to that would be maybe to go intern there or go to school, graduate, get your master's degree, graduate, go to specific schools for specific reasons, and then move forward and then go towards being an intern there, and then so on and so forth. So you build and kind of climb a certain ladder in order to achieve certain things. So that's what your mission is. So I remember personally, like when we met Uncle Saidi, he made us do this like severely long form. This vital information form is more or less similar to the one that I had done 3 years ago. And I remember he did it on the first day, which means we did it at a point where, if you read my blog post, you're familiar with as I had said, I was not in a good emotional space at the time. So that being said, I was not even like in a position to talk about my future or talk about where I wanted to go. That just was not my point of interest. But I remember he gave us this form, and I'm thinking, like, how am I supposed to fill in a form about purpose when I don't even know what my purpose is, or if I don't even know where I'm going? Like, I'm only here because you're supposed to teach me how to get to living a purposeful life or a purpose driven life, and yet here I am not understanding why you're asking me these hardcore questions. And I remember he never got around explaining why he did that. I think I didn't ask, because I asked him many questions, but I forgot to ask why. But in reflection and kind of this morning, like when I was thinking about it, I was like, the way that worked, because the way we filled in our mission was in a way that we had to write down guys, this is crazy, but he literally made us write down like our 10-year plan, 20-year plan, 30-year plan, 40-year plan, and 50-year plan. And I remember thinking, bruh, nobody has time to, be looking at what they're going to be doing in 50. Like, how am I supposed to plan that far? But the honest truth is, if you don't plan that far, though, then what are you looking forward to? Because what happens then is you get to being in a position where you feel like if you have maybe a list of 5 things you want to achieve in your life, and you achieve those 5 things maybe in 2 years, then what? You know what I mean? Because I think the way, like, I digress for like a couple of minutes, but the way that you're pursuing your dream works is sometimes, in my personal experiences, you attain like for me, like at the point that I'm at in my life right now is there's certain things I planned to do 5 years from the time that I was like doing, at the time that I met Saidi and I was doing the form. So that's like, hi Ribane. So that's like when I was 20, like plans I had to do before I get 20. I'm 18, I'm turning 19 in like 2 months. Not 2 months, in 6 months. And so basically, what I've found is like sometimes you achieve certain things earlier than you were supposed to. And then sometimes, not even sometimes, simultaneously, which is right about the exact same time, you will not achieve the things you wanted to achieve that early. So like, let's say you said, I want to do this, and it didn't work out. But then there's certain things, other things that will happen that you will almost feel, for me, I've felt so many times that like certain things happened too soon than they were supposed to. So kind of avoiding that is making sure you have not an overwhelming, but a long kind of comprehensive outlook in terms of how your vision or your mission will look like 10, 20 years from now. So you avoid getting to like a point where not only are you gonna feel comfortable, where you're like, oh, I've achieved all my goals, but instead of getting, because that's a dangerous point to be in, because you'll never reach your potential, like side note, but you get to be in a point where you're not comfortable. There's always something to do, there's always something to work towards, and wherever life swerves, oh guys, the whatever direction life kind of takes you in, you will always have certain things to work towards. I'm not going to digress again. I'm sorry, I have like a short attention span. But basically, I'm hoping you guys are following what I'm trying to say. So the next thing is what? Your purpose. So purpose, like I said, is something a lot of people have said they don't wish they know, they don't think they know of, and wish they knew of, because they feel like it would give them a direction. And I'm going to give you guys like a little 2-second kind of outlook on how I've developed my purpose. Just like, it won't take long, I promise. But basically, the way I think of purpose, in my honest opinion, I think it's something that it's intuitive, right? I feel it's something we all know, but I think that the way God kind of made the journey to discovering your purpose is he made it in such a way that you have to work with the little bits that he kind of gives you, and then he will continue to reveal it. Does that make any sense? So like, if God says in this moment, Towela, I need you to be a photographer, cool, I'll be a photographer. And then it grows and it becomes, I want you to be a documentary photographer. And then it joins and it becomes a different kind of, you get what I mean? You keep learning more and more. But then with that learning of your purpose comes an understanding of basically not an understanding, but with the growing of that, yes, an understanding of your character. Because as much as you learn your purpose, you have to learn a character. You have to learn a certain level of kind of understanding as to who you should be, who you are required to be to pursue that purpose. And I feel the way God has designed purpose is in such a way that, like I said, it's in bits and pieces. So it's not revealed to you in full. And that's why I cannot guarantee that in 50 years I'll be doing photography. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if this was just a stepping stone for me to become something bigger than I could possibly imagine. And I think it's better to be in that flexible point of view where you don't look at purpose as something that should be revealed to you. Like, you wake up one morning and you feel like, oh, kumbaya, like, oh, I've arrived. And, you know, like, my purpose is this. Like, it doesn't work. In my honest opinion, is it doesn't work like that. So yeah, my purpose, I feel, is something you know you should do, or you believe it was placed in your heart to accomplish. And regardless of the means, I want to stress that regardless of the means, regardless of, because sometimes it could be like, maybe I'm meant to be maybe a doctor. I feel like I'm a doctor, but I don't have the means to go to medical school. So I'm just saying, you know, you have to look at your purpose as maybe it's passion for people. And the way God can explore passion for people or passion for helping people in different kind of ways. So like, you could help people in your job just by the way you are. You could help people literally by the person that you are, which I think is also really important. Aside from pursuing your passion, your purpose, I think, is also a lot to do with who you are. But anyways, that's a topic for another day. I like that Matelo just asked me purpose and goal, what's the difference? Because the next thing I'd mentioned vision, mission, and purpose. And now I'm going to talk about your values, which are more or less similar or similarly inclined to your goals. Now, the difference, my opinion, like I said, Uncle Saidi will come and clarify and correct me if I'm wrong, but the difference between a purpose and a goal, first of all, I think a goal is something you attain. The way I see it materially, this question kind of caught me off guard, so I'm just going to think about it for a bit. But the way I understand it is your goals are things that you want for yourself in order to achieve your purpose. So if I know my purpose in life is I think your goals are like your mission. If you go back to what I just said right now about your mission, I think your mission is more or less like your goals. And then your purpose is several kind of successful attempts at achieving your goal will later drive you or kind of keep you towards your purpose. Please clarify, Matalo, if that makes sense for you, or if I can just like explain myself further. So yeah, I think goals are more or less what you do repeatedly. Not repeatedly, things that little steps you take, different steps, similar steps, whatever it could possibly be towards your purpose. They keep you in line with your purpose. Your goals keep you in line with your purpose. And so on and so forth. Once again, I'm not an expert. I'm giving you guys based on like my personal opinion. Uncle Saidi is the perfect person to ask all these questions to, and he'll be live with us at 8 p.m. today, so don't miss that. And like I said, the last thing I want to quickly touch on is your values. Now, if you guys go back to what I just said right now about how your purpose has to do with what you may achieve materially, or I'll say physically, in terms of actual tangible goals that you attain. I feel like your character, which is something I stressed earlier, your character is, for me, I feel it's the most fundamental part of your being and your pursuit of purpose. I personally feel, in my like honest opinion or in my experiences, like if I'm not exercising myself from a characteristic point of view, like if I'm not, for me, my characteristics, let me just quickly jot down something. Let me quickly go to something so that you guys can understand what I mean. So the form I was telling you guys, Uncle Saidi is giving you guys, he made me fill it in. He's literally like, I'm not going to give you a form if you're not going to like do it yourself and kind of assess yourself. So he made me fill in the form. So I'm going to even explain it from the point of view of me so that you guys can understand how the form works. But I quickly want to go to something I had written. I can't find it, but I'll probably explain it as we go further. But the way my character is I feel like my values, I think I had written that. Yes, my values, here it is. because that's what we're talking about, right? So I spoke of empathy, integrity, self-awareness, truthfulness, and honesty. Those are values I feel I cannot do anything without, because my purpose is in media and in changing the face of media and in changing people's perspectives and awakening people's social consciousness towards the way media works and the stories and owning your narratives and all of that. It goes into so many things, because that's kind of the nature of my work and the nature of my purpose, or the nature of where I'm at in my life right now. There's certain values or belief systems I have to kind of apply consistently to be able to work along the lines of what I want to achieve. And empathy is one of them. I feel if I'm not able to be willing to not only not sympathize, not only learn from the people around me, but if I'm unable to kind of empathize with them in the sense that I understand where they're coming from and understand that people's hold on guys, my WhatsApp, um understand where people are coming from, I'm unable to work. So I have to get to a place where empathy for me means it's bigger than just me, it's bigger than just my story, it's bigger than just my narrative. There's so much more to learn from people, etc. Integrity means I don't know how to best describe integrity, but I feel it means that I cannot be easily moved in terms of my belief systems. Self-awareness is like at the core of my being, and that's why on the website I started out with it, because the way the website is designed, content-wise, is in a way that it's literally following step-by-step development of your creative persona. And so I felt self-awareness was the most important thing to stress. For me, it's helped me a great deal. Sorry, I got a call. But anyways, self-awareness for me is a great big deal because give me like a second. Sorry, guys. All right, sorry about that. But basically, self-awareness, like I said, for me is very important because I know for me that there was a point in my life where I was not able to be self-aware. I was very scared to kind of look into my life. And my mom's a preacher, she's a pastor, and something she literally would say every sermon is look into your life, look into your life, look into your life. And I remember I would cringe at the thought of that because there's so much to uncover when you start to self-awareness. I have like a bunch of quotes on my phone on self-awareness. I'll put them up later on. But they say like the longest journey is the journey inward, and it's very hard to kind of do anything, I feel, without an understanding, a thorough, deep understanding of who you are. So self-awareness is at the core of what I do, and that's why a lot of my projects are kind of identity led, and that's why I don't have a million kind of like documentaries out there, because all my documentaries come from a thorough sit down with myself. And if I'm unable to do that, then I'm unable to work towards producing like a severe amount of content. So like I said, self-awareness is it's important for my creative workflow. It's important for my spiritual and mental health. I cannot do anything without it. Truthfulness means I must be honest. Can't sit here and tell you guys stuff that doesn't work for me or stuff that I don't apply. And yeah, honestly, it ties down to that. So anyways, those are my personal values. I hope you guys are following. Hi Wenzi, hi Lillian, hi Toto. So yeah, those are my personal values. We're just talking about values and how they tie down to your personal philosophy. It's important to have things you believe in order to achieve things that you want to achieve in this world and do what you're called to do. So I hope you guys get a better understanding. Once again, that's the 4 different kind of aspects or facets of personal philosophy. And once you get the hang of them, they're not really as hardcore as you could possibly imagine. But if you want to get a better understanding of them, once again, you could talk to Uncle Saidi later on at 8 p.m. when we go live with him. Or alternatively, you could buy his books, which is also a conversation I'll have on another day. But it's really not the hardest thing to do once you get the hang of it. So now I'm just going to quickly go through the form so that you guys can understand. I don't want to take a lot of your time, because if you guys allow me to talk and talk, I'm going to talk forever, never, never. But basically, it's called the vital information form. And like I said, Uncle Saidi calls it a clarity tool. So it's more like a very introspective. If you hear me say words like introspection or looking into your life, etc., self-awareness, if you hear me say stuff like that and you're feeling a little bit lost and you're feeling like you don't know you may want to start that journey, but you may not know where to start it from. This is literally the perfect tool. This is the one thing that I feel will help you a great deal, because I'm speaking from experience, as it's something that has helped me. So, vital information form. So it's 3 pages of really kind of deep questions. I love the way he structured this form, because it's in such a way that you kind of have the opportunity to explain yourself, and you're not just answering questions, but you're kind of looking at why you're answering the questions the way that you are. So it's something I would encourage as you are writing. As much as you should kind of look deep into yourself and look deep within your life as you answer, it's something I also feel you should kind of go you should also write with a little bit of spontaneity, so that you can be as honest as possible. Don't overthink your answers, so that you're able to kind of, like I said, have a more concise kind of clarity as to where you are in your life, so that you can obviously better yourself. I watched a sermon, like side note, I watched a sermon the other day that was talking about how God can only work with what you give him. So I feel like this is a great example of that. If you're not going to be honest with yourself with this form, you are more likely to remain where you are. So anyways, moving forward, all right, this is the form. I'm just going to quickly show it to you guys. This is the form, and it's 3 pages, as you can see. And I had said on my website that on the blog post I talked about, I had said that if you want the form, email me. So email me at photographybyTowelaKams@gmail.com, because I'm not sure if the other email is working. There were a bit of issues with that. So until that's rectified, you could just directly inbox me or DM me, really. And I could DM me or email, and I could just email it to you. So the first kind of half of the form is really basic stuff. Like, it's your name, date of birth, gender, your email address. I guess this was a form if you were to like give it back to Saidi, just for him to understand who you are and how he can get in touch with you. It gives a lot of detail on your personal kind of life, your family background, just where you're coming from. 3 words to describe yourself. I wrote inquisitive, assertive, and intentional. How many are you and your family? 10 siblings, including my adoptive siblings, mom and dad. Where do you live? Gaborone, Botswana. All these kind of things. They just ask basic questions as to who you are. What's your favorite place? I wrote Cape Town because I love that place with all my heart. And then it goes on to kind of look at like where you are academically, just to understand, are you a university student who's finishing school and maybe you don't know your purpose, or are you like more of a high schooler, which is what I was at the time, but obviously this is an updated kind of format of my answering. But really just looking at you as an individual and more on where you're at your life. So like I said, here it's more of academic. So like where you're at academically, what degrees do you have, or what diploma do you have? What have you achieved so far in terms of academics? And then it goes on to then look at, what are your career choices just off the bat? What would you want to do? And I wrote sociologist. At the time that I had met Uncle Saidi, I remember he asked me this, and I wrote economist, that is, because I've always wanted to kind of be an economist for whatever reason. So I wrote sociologist because, like, as I've developed, I've learned obviously that I would want like to have more detailed analysis of social issues, so that when I'm creating documentaries, they're more intellectual, because I want to get into intellectual art. And then the next part of it is just your talents, 3 skills, 3 weaknesses. Now I love this because I'm going to be honest with you guys, because why would I? As I just said earlier on, like, I have to be honest as part of my values. So I'll tell you guys what my responses were to these questions. He said, what are your 3 talents? And I wrote photography. I think that these are more or less skills that I possess. Not sure. But I wrote talents, and I was like photography, graphics designing, because I went into that, and social media creating. But I think it's not social media creating. I think it's curating in general. I love to plan stuff out. And then 3 skills I possess, I wrote writing, speaking, and observing. What's the word for? And I'm analytical. Yes, I'm very analytical. I'll correct that. But yeah, so those are my skills. I wrote how I like to talk, as you can already see. I like to speak. I like to write a lot. You'll see that from my blogs. Hi, Nan Kosho. I've not remembered. I've not seen your full name, so I'll hit like just comment your full name and I'll give you a proper shout out. But yeah, so three skills: writing, speaking, and I'm very analytical. I'm very like I want to know how things look. Like I'm so analytical. I think that's why like I excel in photography and I'm like super concerned in photography because I'm very, very analytical. I think as we go on the site, you'll be able to understand the depths of it. Like it's very deep, like severe OCD. And then I wrote three weaknesses. So these are my weaknesses. The first one I wrote was I'm reluctant on time management because I feel like time is something that I really want to discipline myself on. I'm not as perfect as I would want to be. It's something I'm definitely working on, but as a weakness I will jot it down. And then I wrote what is this? Wait. Oh, right. Okay, cool. All right. So I wrote about consistency, how I would want to be as I feel consistent in my creativity in terms of, I don't know how to stress that in a way that makes sense, but consistency. And then another weakness I wrote was I'm I don't know if I'm too empathetic, but I wrote that as a weakness. So the way this works, and obviously, like I said, Uncle Saidi will explain in depth. But the way it works is you write your what you can do, what you can't do, and how you can polish up what you can't do so that you can get to what you can do and you can achieve what you should be doing, etc., etc. And then it talks about your challenges and what you feel you're facing in terms of why you can't kind of progress in life. So whether it's at home, it has at home challenges you face at home, challenges you face at work, possible causes of this challenge, how it's affecting you. I really like this part because it's not only looking at, oh, it's not like cry wolf. I don't know if cry wolf is the right context I'm using it, but it's not like feel sorry for me. I have these challenges. It's more like, what do you think is the source of this challenge? Because I feel like whatever challenges there are in your life, there's so many ways to navigate that in a way that kind of like can suit your purpose and your passion or whatever it is that you're working towards. You can navigate that if you stop kind of looking at, oh, this is a problem. You should look at what is the cause of this problem. Sometimes, like in my life personally, and obviously I'm still growing and I'm yet to like face a lot of challenges, but what I've learned is I always look at challenges like their sources. Anybody else does that? I like always look at my challenges like they're the source of my problems. But really it's sometimes, usually the other way around. Sometimes the causes of your challenges are things that it could be childhood trauma, it could be the way you grew up, it could be the family set up and what kind of values they instilled in you, or some of the things that you learned in school, good or bad, the environment essentially where you're from, and then how this is affecting you, which I think is really great. Because for me as a creative, if I'm not functioning, I was explaining this to someone yesterday, if I'm not spiritually at my best or emotionally at my best, I literally cannot work. So I like that this is saying how it's affecting you, because I feel like for you to pursue your purpose, it involves like all parts of you: emotional, spiritual, physical, mental, everything. And so if you're in a position where you are not able to kind of pick out what it is that affects you, not what it is that affects you, but how it affects you, then it becomes a little bit difficult for you to kind of pursue your dreams. So you have to be honest with yourself as to what it is that, how you think certain things affect you. And I wrote my answers. And one thing you'll notice is after you finish that little table of three things, your challenges you face now, possible causes, and how it's affecting you. After you fill in that, you'll figure out that your challenges are really not that deep. Because I'm looking at it now and I'm like, these are all things I could easily navigate. Like this is stuff I could actually manage to work through. But if I had not written them down, I would have not realized that these are things I could have worked towards. I probably would have just sat around and cried about my challenges and never moved forward. So it's important for you guys, like I said, to be honest when you're answering. I talked about my biggest achievement to date. He asked about my biggest achievement to date, sorry. Top 3 fears, biggest setback. Like these are very deep questions and you have to be honest about them so that you can understand. Because I like that he asked about biggest setback, because for that one, I feel like if you don't kind of understand what area in your life you had the biggest disappointment in, because I faced this, I think I spoke about this when I was in Zambia, I did an IG live on this. But if you don't understand kind of like your biggest point of disappointment, yeah, you will, in my opinion, you will never kind of like, you will not fully gain the strength to try again, if that makes any sense. You know, that disappointment that kind of like derails you, and you're just like, you become very hesitant to try things out again. You become very, all the enthusiasm to do something becomes like such a drag, and it becomes harder and harder to achieve certain things. So it's important to kind of write your biggest setback. And then he goes on to talk about your top 3 fears, and I wrote my top 3 fears. And that's also, like I said, very personal question, and that will help you understand more of yourself. Then he talks, guys, this is the part I was telling you guys about, like the part where he's talking about like what you want to achieve in like long term. But here it's not as deep. Here he's like 12 months, 5 years, 10 years, and it's a table. But what I like most about the adjustment he made to this form as opposed to how it was 3 years ago is here it says, I don't know if I can. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I think I can explain this. So the way it works is there are 3 tables. So it's 12 months, 5 years, 10 years, right? But it's 12 months for your personal aspirations, 5 years for your personal aspiration, 10 years for your personal aspiration. So it's different kind of parts. So the first part is your personal, what you want for yourself in the next 12, 5, 10 years. So that could be, I want to be more empathetic, or I want to be more observant of people's feelings, or I want to be more, I don't know, financially intelligent. I want to better those skills, etc. And then there's professional life, and that kind of looks into, like what you may want to achieve in your work or school life in 12 years, 5 years, and 10 years. Then there's the leadership role of it and what you want to achieve long term. So that's obviously, as you step into your purpose, you'll realize that your dream is not necessarily to work your purpose, in short term, maybe to learn or to sit under someone, to be a mentee, etc., to be an intern, to be an employee, etc. But your long term, you'll discover with time that you are called to be in a leadership position. Like that, I feel, is for everyone in this world. Every single person in this world, I feel, was given that. And so it talks about what you would achieve in your leadership role in the 12 months, in 5 years, and 10 years. And then, this is the part that I also wanted to stress. Remember I spoke about how your character would be like refined as you continue to go on. Here Uncle Saidi says, what 3 things do you hope to become by achieving your 3 goals? And he goes on and he explains 3 things to become by achieving your 3 goals. So I went on and I explained like a bunch of really long paragraphs. And then he says, what do you think are the benefits of achieving these goals for the following? So like I said, this is more of a form of why, as opposed to just doing things for the sake of doing them, just pursuing your purpose for the sake of pursuing it. It's really all about who you become in the process, and that's what I really like about this form. I love that it's stressed that, because it is so true and evident in my life. So he speaks about, like I said, 3 things to you become by achieving your 3 goals. How you're going to develop as a person. You must not be closed-minded in a way that you feel like you're kind of, what's the word? Your pursuit of your purpose will always refine your character. So don't be kind of like closed-minded where you think you will stay the same, because you will not stay the same. You will grow and you'll develop new values and new habits, and you'll pick up on certain principles that will guard you and ground you and act as your foundation for everything you hope to achieve in life. So he asks about that. And then benefits of achieving these goals, like I said, it's also kind of like in different kind of ways. So he talks about yourself, your family, your community, your country. These 4 different groups of people, looking at how achieving these goals will benefit them. Now that's where we get to a point where, if you listened to my interview on, what day was that? On Sunday at 11 a.m. with Tsepo Mapanyani on Gabs FM. I'm getting the interview, so I'll put it up on my YouTube. But I had spoken about something called social impact, and I'd spoken about how I feel like that's a given for everyone who's living a life of purpose. You will always have a social impact. And fine, even if you're in photography, you may not have to do like documentary work. Like it doesn't have to be as deep as anything else. It could be literally like fashion or like landscape photography, whatever it is. But I feel like you should have a social impact, and there should be kind of a good reason to do what you're doing. Quick example would be Ansel Adams. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's like considered the father of photography. A lot of people think, oh, we know him because, okay, yes, we do. We do know him because of his fantastic landscape photographs. But the real reason behind why he did what he did was because he was first an environmentalist, which means that he got into photography to extend a passion that he had fulfilled before he had gotten to a place where he felt he could explore creative energy therein, if that makes any sense to anyone. So understanding how your actions benefit people, he was passionate about the environment, showing the beauty of environment, and I guess you can see the trickle down effect of that in the way we take care of environments, especially the ones that he photographed all those years ago. Moving forward, so that's social impact, like I said, guys, it's very important. And then this is like my last bit. Yeah, this is the last bit of the thing. I'll just go through it really quickly so that we don't waste any more time. But 3 new things you're willing to develop. So this is now looking at, okay, I've assessed myself. I now know where I'm going wrong, where I went wrong in terms of me developing my purpose or developing myself. I now know how certain kind of things growing up had played an influence into why I have no zeal, or I have what's the word, discouraged work ambition, because you can have ambition but it could get discouraged. So it's looking at how you could have been discouraged as a result of everything you had been through, and after looking at all of that, right, everything that I said earlier will give you a pointer as to that. Now it's saying, what can I do? What actions can I take right now to move forward, right? It's now looking at the brighter side. It's now looking at the future. It's now looking at from the present moving on, right? And which is what I like. I like that the form is progressive, if that's a term I could use. So 3 new habits you could develop, and 3 old things you're willing to give up in order to achieve this goal. I like this in looking at it now because the other day I was meditating on, I was like looking at different stories in the Bible, like Noah's Ark. I chose that one because I was asking God, like, why is it that every time before you move forward, you have to lose something? Why can't you just move forward with all your garbage from like, all your baggage from like back then? Like, why do I have to let go of certain things before I can become a certain person? And okay, well, that's another, like, I'll probably put that in a blog post because I'll go on and on. But yeah, so 3 old things you're willing to give up. It's very important to kind of give up certain things. Back to the Bible, if you quickly look, there's a scripture in John 15, I think, John 14 or 15 verse 3, talks about how God cuts down branches in you that don't bear fruit, and he prunes the ones that do. So this is like an important kind of rule of thumb. It seems to be something that creatives work along. I think God is the author of creativity. So every time I look at creative principles or principles for creative development, I always refer to the Bible. 3 old things you're willing to give up to achieve these goals. You can't kind of move forward in your life if you're not willing to let go of things, of certain kind of things. So I wrote of my bad time management. I wrote of this was like more or less the list. If you're honest with yourself, this was the list of 3 old things I was willing to give up, or the list of, let me go up. They were the list of the list I had just given you guys, the 3 weaknesses I had. Yeah, they seem to be tallying very well. And so, yeah. Yes, Nozi says the art of letting go, which is absolutely perfect. That's the best way to describe it. It's very important to let go. You cannot move forward without letting go. So thank you for that, Nozi. So yeah. Moving forward, 3 reasons why you think you may achieve these goals. I like this because sometimes we think our goals are so far-fetched, but being able to look at why you think you can achieve certain goals is the best way to kind of get to a place where you then see them as attainable, as within arm's reach, as things that are literally right in front of you. And so I love this so much because I wrote, for instance, I can achieve whatever goals I had written because it's my purpose, because I'm passionate about achieving these goals. And then I wrote because my emotional well-being and my spiritual well-being depends on it, which, like I said, is rooted to the pursuit of my purpose. I can't work without my spiritual and emotional being my emotional being. I don't know if that's like English, but I can't work if my emotional and spiritual self is not at peace. So I wrote, I have to I believe I can achieve these goals because I have no other option but to do so, because different parts of me kind of depend on it. And I think that's also a great kind of position to be in when you get to a place where you feel like you have to pursue certain things, and you realize why it depends, why it's so important, whether it could be social impact, whether it could be maybe to be able to provide for your family in the near future. It could be anything really. But I think that's very important to have something that grounds you as your main purpose, not just achieving things for the sake of achieving them. For all ambition is evil, just the quote that I had kind of written down. All ambition is evil if it is not rooted to the benefit of other people, has no grounding as to your character being refined. Moving forward, then yeah, he asks about like names of like maybe like social clubs, or like maybe you do sports, you all know I don't do sports, but stuff like that, that you may have done in the past, and the roles that you had done. I think this was also for you to maybe analyze your position as a leader, and kind of appreciate that maybe some people in the past may have seen that. Because for me, I remember like I never thought I was going to ever be a leader of anything or lead in any kind of context. But then I remember like I wrote this form, and I wrote like I was a marketing manager for JAB. If you guys know what JAB is, Junior Achievers Botswana, when I was in high school. And then I was a class monitor, and then I was a prefect. And I remember thinking, why are they giving me this role? Because I'm not the kind of prefect that could go around and yell at everyone. And just because I couldn't express myself in a certain way, I thought that I was not a leader. And some people think that, oh, just because I cannot speak well, or just because I cannot talk as much, so I can't be a motivational speaker, or I can't inspire people, or just because my English is not the most perfect, so I can't write that book. No, guys, it doesn't work like that. So this is another thing that I wanted to just quickly touch on. Leadership roles are, I feel like I had said earlier, they're for everyone. So the next kind of part is looking at, I'm like trying to move as fast as I can, guys, because I want to wrap it up for you guys, because I appreciate your time. The next kind of part is now looking at your interests, which I think is very interesting, because it looks at your role model. I wrote Susan Sontag. She's an art she was an essayist, a visual essayist. She was married to a photographer, so she has this beautiful understanding of photography. My hero, I wrote my mom. My best friend, your closest friends, I wrote Amukhalang Tenyo, because she's like my only best friend. Your hobbies, I wrote photography. And then it goes on to why. Why do you like what you like? Why do you like Susan Sontag? Why do you think your mom is your hero? Why do you like photography? Why is Amukhalang your best friend? And then I go on to explain these different things. And then I was able to then understand why I like what I like. And once you get that understanding of why you like what you like, it's easier to, first of all, fuel how to like it. So that comes from maybe if you have creative blocks, maybe if you're not sure of what direction to take in your art, whatever it could be. Maybe you like abstract art, and you like it because it's spontaneous, and maybe you forget that along the way and you get discouraged, and then you're able to remind yourself, no, I liked abstract art to begin with because it had this vibe to it, and then that is inspirational for you to kind of keep moving on. So the why part of this section is very important, I feel. Favorite artist, favorite music, why, favorite sport, why. Y'all know I already left that blank because I don't like sport. Favorite sports person, favorite movie, favorite actor, best moment of your life, goes back to those kind of reflective personal questions. Worst moment of your life. If you like look closely, it sounds like this form is a little bit repetitive, if that makes any sense. And I like that it is, because sometimes you could write something like, this is my 3 weaknesses, and then at the bottom, like the next part, if you remember, like he had asked like, what things are you willing to let go? And then you don't write those weaknesses. Do you get what I mean? And then you write maybe something else, and then you come here and it talks about 3 things that are holding you back, and you don't write those weaknesses. So I think he purposefully, intentionally did that, so that you're able to kind of keep affirming that you're willing to let go of certain things. Anyways, best moment of your life, worst moment of your life, biggest regret in your life, 2 things that excite you the most, 2 things that annoy you the most. I wrote segregation and entitlement because, oh God, I cannot handle people who segregate and people who feel entitled. What's your dream for your community, dream for your former school, dream for your country, dream for Africa? I like this because these are very Like I said, these are socially impacting questions that kind of look at who you are as an individual and how you apply to those around you. Something Uncle Saidi always says is everyone is created to fit. You have to kind of live your life in a way that points you towards figuring out what he calls where you fit in the grand scheme of things. And so this is like a great part of understanding that and really understanding where do I fit, what role do I play in my community, in my former school, in my country, in Africa, in the development of all these 4 different areas that I've been influenced by and these different environments that I've kind of been able to participate in. And then list 3 books you've read by authors. Reading is very important. I'm going to be talking about that maybe in early January, but books are very important. As I had said, Uncle Saidi is the author of 4 different books. Know What Matters, which is actually the first book I wrote in my list of the best books I've written. He's written Know What Matters. He's written The Loser's Seminar. In the order, let me start from the first one. The Loser's Seminar, Know What Matters, Charm Your Audience, and Access to Plenty. These 4 different books were created for young people like myself. So they have very practical steps and they have very kind of easy steps to take towards bettering your life. You guys seriously should get them. I have like a copy, so if you guys want to borrow, I have a copy of each. I'm not sure if I have Loser's Seminar. I think I borrowed it to some unfaithful person who didn't return it back, but I'm willing to like lend out Know What Matters. I have Know What Matters. I have Access to Plenty. I think I have Charm Your Audience as well, if Amu didn't borrow it from me. So if you guys want to borrow them, like it's totally down. You could inbox me about that. And then the last bit is your vision, your mission, your values. And like I said, this is now looking at personal philosophy after reflection, which is, like I said, you can only develop everything I said at the beginning of this interview if you understand where you're at in your life and how you can apply all of these things into where you're at in your life in a way that best works for you. So I like that he put this at the end because it literally comes after you've basically looked deep into your life and understood where you went wrong and where you could go right as well. So your vision, your mission, your values, and then he says, what do you hope from achieving from, and now this is obviously if you're going to take it up a notch and involve him in terms of life coaching and what you hope he could help you achieve. And then I wrote sharpening my character and help me develop traits that I could develop long term to get to where I want to be. And I've kind of maintained a very close relationship with Uncle Saidi ever since I met him, so I'm able to have achieved the last bit of refining my character because he's so involved in my life, and I ask him for like a lot of steps I take are really first deeply discussed with him. So yeah, that's literally the end of it. I hope I did not take much time. I think this live is like 1 hour. I'm not sure, but thank you so much for listening. If you guys have any other questions, you could literally just DM me so that when I'm asking Uncle Saidi questions later on, I could steer all kind of questions in the direction that could be best beneficial for you. Another thing is, I remember a lot of people had actually discussed that they would be in class or they'd be busy and wouldn't be able to, if we had the live interview with him now, they said they may not be able to be with him, to be available for the live. So at least you get an understanding of what to prepare for as we move towards the live video. Because guys, and I say this in all honesty, he he changed my whole life. Like, I can't stress that in a way that doesn't sound cliche, but he literally, he's such an influential figure, and I'm so blessed to have him involved in, kind of helping you guys understand how to better yourselves and how to position yourselves for success and greatness. So please do make use of the time you will have with him later on. Like, if you have any more questions, like I said, you could email them to me anytime. You could DM them to me between now and 8 p.m. rather, so that I could steer the directions of the questions towards him in a way that could be best beneficial for you, and you could learn and you could move forward. Once again, if you want this list of the form that I've been speaking of, maybe you could even start it now so that you could maybe ask him a couple questions after doing the form later on and make use once again of the time that we will have with him. You could email me at photographybytowelakams@gmail.com. Photography by Towela Kams, 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 Towela is Towela. So photography by towelakams@gmail.com. And yeah, I'll see you guys at 8 p.m. Thank you once again for watching. Thank you for all the nice compliments and the nice comments. Let me just go through a couple. Thank you so much for watching once again. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys will be joining me later on at 8 p.m. Have a fabulous day.